Hi people, it's me Anja, my pronouns are she and her, and welcome back to my channel for a new reading vlog. Today I've decided to read I Who Have Never Known Men, which has been a viral book lately on Book Talk and Twitter, and most of my friends treat this book as if it's some sort of big feminist literature, like it's Gen Z's Handmaid's Tale, and for that reason I've always avoided it because I've never read Handmaid's Tale, but from what I have heard about it, it seems very white. And I don't really enjoy these feminist books that go viral because oftentimes, again, they're very white because authors of color tend not to be as popular as white authors, just in general. But then I did more research and I've discovered that this book's plot is based off of the author's Jewish heritage, and I think that it's inspired by the fact that the majority of her paternal family died during the Holocaust, so it's about returning to society after a tragedy, which is so relatable because I don't know, I haven't really had a lot of super tragic things happen to me, on a global historical level, aside from the pandemic. And I don't think we fully recovered from the pandemic even 5 years out. You know what I mean? But I think about my mom's family who were refugees from Vietnam and returning to Vietnam after the war and everything and seeing everything that has changed and everything that was once familiar, you know what I mean, under a new communist government and everything. You know what I mean? It's just it's so much deeper than returning to your childhood neighborhood as an adult and seeing everything through a new lens, but it's a new war-scarred country now. Does that make any sense? Anyway, that's why I'm excited to read this book, and I'm excited to interpret it through a different lens than what the general public tends to interpret it as. So for those who don't know, this book is a dystopian novel, and it's about a main character who's isolated from society for some reason, and I guess she grows up without the introduction of men or the patriarchy or misogyny, and then she's introduced to it for the first time. Maybe? I don't know. Anyway, there's that. Hi, I'm 100 pages into this book, and so far, nothing's happened so far. It follows a young main character who has no idea how old she is, but her peers have suggested that she is between the ages of 15 and 20, and basically she lives in this bunker with 39 other women, and she's the youngest of them all, so they've deduced that they've been here for basically her entire life because they remember snippets from their life prior to the bunker, but they don't remember how they got there or why. And she's grown up without the rest of society, so she has no idea what it's like outside the bunker, which means that she doesn't know basic things like arithmetic or anything like that, which is totally understandable. And she's smarter, I guess, than the other woman there, but only because she's not yet jaded, you know what I mean? So I don't know what I'm supposed to take from this book because, again, nothing's happening. It's very much written in first person, so you have that perspective of the unknown, and it's just very I don't know. I don't know if I thought that I would rate this book higher or not, but so far I'm not super enjoying it. And I don't even know her name because she doesn't know her own name. And yeah, there's that. I'm now, I guess, halfway through this book. Some things have happened. There was a siren that went off, so all the guards left for some reason. So all the women escaped, and now they're outside, and they've discovered the other cabin that's full of dead women, which is very sad and awful. but it means that there was another like experiment going on that was unsuccessful, unfortunately. And yeah, I'm intrigued by this book because I need an explanation, but I'm not intrigued by this book in the sense that I actually care about the characters themselves, because since I don't know what's going on and neither does the main character, it makes, I don't know, it makes the other people seem like two-dimensional? No, one-dimensional is what I mean. I don't know because I don't know what's going on. Does that make any sense? Anyway, there's that. Whenever I read these like well-beloved like pieces of literature, I always think either the themes are very much on the nose, very much, well, obviously, well, duh, or I think this book is overrated, and I think that it's pointless. And I think that this book feels very pointless and very overrated, but maybe I just don't really enjoy the speculative stuff. Basically, all the other women that she was with previously have now passed away. They've escaped the society, and she's never encountered another human being, which bothers me because how is she supposed to create a society without men if there are no other people there either? Like, I don't understand, and I don't think I'm going to get any answers about how she got there, how old she is, or anything like that at all. And some people might enjoy that lack of knowledge, but I hate it. So, yeah. She also keeps like running into all the other bunkers that are full of dead people, and she's the only survivor, which is very sad and very lonely. So, yeah, I'm not really enjoying this book, if you couldn't tell. So, yes. So I finished it and I don't like it because it's so vague and open-ended, and it kind of reminds me of like when I was younger and I didn't understand things that to other people appealed like rudimentary or basic. I felt dumber than my peers because I thought that since I didn't grasp these things that seemed basic to them, like that meant that I was dumb or stupid. And it was mostly like I didn't understand like social cues, or I didn't pick up on themes in books or movies right away or something like that. And now as an adult I understand that first of all I'm neurodivergent, and oftentimes I grew up around mostly like neurotypical or holistic people, so obviously I didn't navigate the world or see the world the way that they did. And second of all, like, why are we using literature as a metric, or rather the only metric of intelligence? I feel like being smart means so many different things nowadays, and like the ways in which we define it is so subjective in my opinion. And yeah, anyway, I think that if I had read this book when I was younger, I would have felt dumb for not understanding it or not enjoying it as much as like everyone else. And I don't know. Basically, I didn't like this book very much. I don't really understand, first of all, why TikTok has interpreted it as like a big feminist literature. It seems, first of all, very conservative. Maybe that's why it hits with TikTok, frankly. Second of all, I don't even understand like the other themes about it, about like returning to society after a tragedy and having to readjust to society, because like there was nothing there for them to like readjust to. Like she didn't have to, I don't know, fall back into culture because there was nobody else in the society except her people that she had grown up around. And then at the end of the book, she passes away from, I think it's supposed to be some kind of cancer regarding her reproductive bits or something. I don't know. I found the part where her friend Anthea, is that how you pronounce her name? I don't know. Taught her about anatomy and stuff like that. I think that part was very like interesting, but I can't really blame this book for being more conservative because, like, the author herself grew up around, like, I guess the 50s and the 60s? I don't know. I think that she died in 2012, but I don't remember exactly when she wrote this book. And if it's truly inspired by, like, the Holocaust and stuff, I'm assuming that she wrote it in the 60s or the 70s, which means that she hadn't yet encountered the knowledge that I know about feminism now, right? So I can give her grace for that. Not to say that the liberal ideas that I've learned about feminism now didn't exist in the 70s. It's just that people perceived like the freedoms that I've taken for granted then as like newer, I think. I don't know. Obviously, I need to do more research about how the people of the 70s and the 60s and the 50s like viewed women and like feminism and like everything then versus now, and what like the things that I take for granted now and stuff. I don't know. I think that looking back at history and looking back at what the people thought and how people thought were framed by the context and the history and like the world around them and the amount of knowledge that they had back then versus now is very fascinating and it's very interesting because like I can't blame past generations for not knowing things when I can see the future because I'm in the future. I don't know if that makes any sense at all. But basically, like, for example, I can't blame people for calling World War One the Great War because it's the greatest, the worst war that they've ever been through, and they didn't know that World War Two was going to come and be even more deadly. You know what I mean? But I know that now because I've studied history and it's already happened for me. So, anyway, I don't know if anything I said made any sense, but essentially, I didn't like this book. I don't think it's very good. I didn't care for it. So, yeah, I guess I rated it 2.5 stars or 3 stars or whatever. And I don't really recommend it. Maybe I'm too woke, but I didn't like it. So, there's that. So in conclusion, I feel like I did a bad job explaining this book, but like nothing happens until halfway through when the women escape. But even after they escape, nothing continues to happen. So the plot doesn't really move at all. So anyway, in conclusion, if you enjoyed this book, then you probably didn't watch this video because I have never been more confused in my entire life. And I even enjoyed Pile of Nancy more than this book, which really says a lot because I didn't like that book either. So anyway, this book frankly wasn't for me. I don't even understand why people love it because sometimes when I read a classic book, I can understand why it hits for other people. But even with this, I don't get it. Anyway, in conclusion, let me just end this video. If you enjoyed this video, please don't hesitate to give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below the bunny rabbit emoji if you made it all the way to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you're new, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!